Hello North Region, welcome to a new segment on the show that I'm calling Beneath the Chopping Block. Now this is where I end up doing commentary on our episodes, and essentially I go through the entirety of it while talking about some behind the scenes stuff, because believe it or not, there's actually a lot to talk about as far as production quality goes. Now believe it or not, this is actually a set we're working on. What you're seeing there when you saw the heraldry for Leucine's heraldry move is we actually ended up using some strings. You can't really see it too well because we masked them pretty alright, but we actually had to slowly prop it over and like turn it sideways so it looks like it's actually on a chopping block. We have a mammoth cut out there holding a cutout axe, and yeah, it's actually a whole live action thing. We're actually on the set, but we're off screen is the thing. Now we had to do this with we tried to do it with Leucine because he was there at the time when we were recording our first episode because he was going to the airport to pick up Talius for Wolf's Cry, and what was it? But Leucine had a serious cold and like his face was all puffy and swollen, so we weren't actually able to record in live action. So what we actually did is we just decided, let's just do off screen, see how it looks here, and just see if we can make this a continuing thing if people are okay with it. And from what it's looking like right now, it looks like that was the case. Now, believe it or not, this was actually 100% scripted. A lot of the things we had gone over, it sounds like we're improvising, but Beard Wars, believe it or not, was 100% planned for the entire way. And I gotta tell you, the scripting process was absolutely abysmal, because for those of you who don't know what I do for my personal time is I'm actually a content creator, sort of in my spare time between working 2 jobs, but I gotta tell you, thanks to Vex, who kind of helped co-write a lot of this, I was able to do pretty much half of the work for this, and we managed to get a full 27-minute long script for this episode, which I'm eternally grateful for. Vex, thank you so much for that. Sorry, clearing my throat there. But originally, what we wanted to do before the live action thing is that we actually wanted to make it animated, and I had my friend, his name was Phil, and we were talking about possibly animating it. Originally, Hars and Vex were actually going to be ducks, and I realize that sounds absolutely ludicrous now, but it's also worth noting I was extremely drunk when I came up with this idea, and Vex is more of an enabler than anything, so she was 100% for it. But then by the time I actually sobered up and I saw the concept designs by Phil, I admit I may have shouted him. My verbatim, apparently I'm told my quote was, yes, Phil, I just wanted to ask about some creative choices. I promise I'm not going to be mad, but I'm just curious. Why are Hars and Vex ducks? And yeah, so we kind of threw that out the window real easy. But the idea... Oh, I guess I should probably address an elephant in the room here. So, if you're watching this now, the chances are by the time this comes out, we'll have gone through... I think Mini Bards would be the one that's coming out by this point. But, yeah, it would be Mini Bard. But by the time... I'm assuming probably before then we still haven't got our episode with Sir Gold Crest, and honestly there's a legitimate reason behind that. And the reason is because Sir Gold Crest actually doesn't exist. Now, believe it or not, he's what's referred to in South American culture as a tulpa. Now, if you don't know what a tulpa is, it's what happens when usually someone dies, or if you just want to create an imaginary friend. Basically, it's a group of people concentrating to create a real, it's not I shouldn't say ghost. It's not exactly a ghost, but it's like sort of an... what's the best way I can describe it? And honestly, the best way I could explain it is probably just it's an imaginary friend with a bit more of a twist on it, because it can act on its own and move on its own, but it's still not there at the same time. And I would honestly advise looking it up, because it's a really interesting read, but don't make one, because apparently it can psychologically damage you for life if you're not careful. And so the question thing actually came up probably on the last part of our actual scripting, and believe it or not, we actually paid a lot of people that were extras to provide these questions. So that's why a lot of these things we had talked about were planned. Talon was the main reason we were able to do Beard Wars as a script, and that's actually the reason we ended up coming up with episodes titled after keywords mentioned. Because really, you really think we kind of just came up with that on the spot? No, we're not. We're not insane and we're not geniuses, but we're not mad, we're not geniuses, but we're definitely mad geniuses, and that's the best way I could explain it. And
Sir Gorin, and I don't think we met.
Sorry, clearing my throat there. But
the Ren Fair actually, but anyway, we
and actually, it's not true. Actually, the part about Leucine using lifesteal was actually not true, because in actuality, what he really used were ducks. Like, he actually used ducks and they threw them at each other. It's kind of like imagine a primordial. Is primordial or primordial? A primordial version of Angry Birds. What he would do is they would like build like block towers out of like Jenga blocks, and they would throw them at each other, and the goal would be to throw the duck as hard as you could into this stack of blocks without having the duck full on erupt and attack them. And honestly, it was kind of amazing, because I don't know how he managed to get the duck to do that without like having it just attack then and there. But honestly, I'm impressed. Power to you, Leucine. Good job. And what else was there?
And these blobs had a polearm and poisoned throwies.
I'm trying to think. There's more to talk about for this episode. I just can't remember.
So what they did was dust.
Oh, I guess I could talk about some of the stuff that we discussed on the on some other episodes also, since I don't really know how much I'm going to be able to keep this going throughout the entirety of it. Oh, the music. Now the music for this is from Final Fantasy X-2. It's the overworld theme they have playing on the ship that the main characters use, and we thought it was appropriate for just the general laid back, relaxed tone that we were going for. That also had sort of a party feel to it. And I guess I should mention the ending credits song too. It's Baba Yetu, which is some people know is from Sid Meier's Civilization 4. And we ended up using that as a techno remix, mostly because we thought it was I don't know, I just thought it felt appropriate. Also, a little edit I thought people should notice is not only are we having the heraldry, but believe it or not, that's all a green screen. We actually made the explosion ourselves. It was about, God, it was a good, I want to say it was about 200 pounds of TNT, more or less. And we had that going on in the background, but the problem was the explosion happened too quickly, so I actually had to slow it down in Premiere, which is the program I used to edit this on. And yeah, we waited till nightfall. We went down to a shooting range. I'm not going to give away the name because I don't want to risk like giving anything away. But what was I saying now?
Yeah, I think it would be.
All right. So our next question we have is why are
I
you
lost my train of
obsessed
thought.
with
Let me think.
Have you seen it? It's glorious. Rivaled only by
Right, shooting range. So we set off the explosives, and we waited till nightfall to make sure that you couldn't see any of the background when it was going on. Like, waited for a super cloudy night, and when it was dark, we ended up using that. So, and additionally, for our a little graphic I was hoping to see some people touch on, but I don't think anyone's really pointed it out yet, is the format for the font we use for our officers. All the Northreach officers were in a sort of maroon red, like kind of what we had for the Northreach heraldry. Then for Astral Winds, we have sort of the same shade of green that they use for Astral Winds' heraldry.
yeah.
Same with Lupin Moon for yellow, Frozen Coast was blue, Ravenstone was purple, and Icefire Bay was orange. For our outside guests, we were gonna use like different ones for members we've had out of state that we interviewed, but since all the out of town or out of state people that we've interviewed so far were from Dragonspine, we decided to just use silver. I thought it was appropriate, mostly because all the other people we've interviewed thus far from out of state were also Grand Dukes, and also Knights. So I thought the Royals silver kind of looked nice. I thought it looked appropriate.
the community. I recently realized that I have
Let's see, what else was
large
there?
network of friends, and maybe 3 of them are not Amp-Guarders. Like, at this point, I could not imagine my life without Amp-Guard. Not so much because of the, hitting my friends with sticks on weekends, as much as I enjoy that, but just the community and support in Northreach is just amazing, and I couldn't imagine not being part of that.
Yeah, to sort of second that statement, you guys are
The no such thing as bad publicity, by the way, was improvised. I just thought I should add that. I ended up taking it from when we were talking about originally the marketing. What we wanted to do for the chopping block was I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably saw the trailer we put out forever ago. It was like a live action thing with me and Vex. Initially, what we wanted to do was graffiti it onto various dumpsters around the school, but I was told that was illegal and also immoral. And Vex suggested that we wrote our message out, watch the chopping block in the sky, like hire a skywriter, but we realized very quickly that it was way too expensive for the budget we're giving. And I'm told we are not allowed to disclose what our budget was, but it was higher than $1, and that is all I'm allowed to say.
At the time, so like my brain was just kind of going, these guys are doing something really nice for you. Respond.
That is a true thing, by the way. Well, Frozen Coast in general has always been a fun thing to work with, but I'm trying to. Oh God, that's right. There was one thing I forgot to mention. So something we actually had. One of the more tedious things that we had to go through with setting up for this was actually, believe it or not, that's not me that's playing Hars. And same thing with Vex. Ashley sounds a lot different from her. She actually has a super deep, burly, buff sounding voice, and we actually had to hire voice actors to play us essentially. And I wanted to try seeing if I could pull into my own pool of voice acting first, because I mean, people who don't know me outside of Amcard I'll start over on that. People who know me outside of Amcard know I used to do a lot of voice acting, and I still do it now and again. But what I wanted to do was reach into my pool of talent first and see if we could find somebody, but realized very quickly that not a lot of people could really play Vex the way I wanted to be played. So I had to reach out and do a public audition, which was held on the Voice Acting Club, hosted by Miss Kira Buckland. And it's a great site if you ever wanted to get into voice acting, by the way. So I would highly recommend it if you're interested. But I admit we probably cut off a little bit of our potential resources because we mentioned this was a non-paying project. But So for that, you're probably wondering, so where did all this budget go? Well, it went towards the set that I mentioned at the beginning of this, but it also went towards, believe it or not, we actually managed to bring a mammoth back, and we wanted to bring him on the set, but the person we got that was taking care of him just wasn't like willing to clean up the set along with anything he would leave behind. And also, most of the money we have from this is going towards feeding the mammoth. So pretty much none of this is going back to us. It's pretty much just going towards this mammoth. We were wanting to debut it at Wolf's Cry, but we didn't really want to cause a scene, and we thought it would probably go completely enraged if like a bunch of drunk people tried to riot it. Because I think we have a waiver, but I don't believe it covers getting gored by a mammoth. I mean, I personally wouldn't want to chance that, but I mean, some people might. I don't know. I can't speak for everybody because I'm not everybody.
I've never gotten super excited about one. The two that come to mind when I think back about crazy weapons I've seen, though, is
The funny thing was, Leucine was originally planning to run for Kingdom Champion after he had stepped down for Prince when we were still a principality. But, Grim stepped up, but then he couldn't, so then he stepped down, and now he is actually running our Kingdom Champion, so I don't know if full circle is the right word for it, but I'd say like, you know when you try drawing a circle with your non-dominant hand, it's like that kind of full circle, like a left full circle.
At my place, and he had come there a couple times to work on it, and I remember the week that he finally brought it out to the field.
See, now a little known fact is Leucine is known primarily as Scout, but with, just going sword and board. But believe it or not, what he actually did is he used to have a trident, Now the thing is, the trident could also be broken down and turned into flails. Now that's the real reason he says that the weapons have never made it, that Flavory Weapons never made an impact on him, is because he actually was never able to find one that could match his level of flair. So that's the real reason that he's been saying that. So Deli, if you're listening to this, that's your cue to try as hard as you can, because you got some major competition you want to beat for that. And nobody can disprove this because I'm on the internet, which automatically means I'm right. So, anyway, what was I saying? Oh. So I guess you're talking a bit about the Beneath the Armor segment. Now, originally we wanted to do a lot of these live action, but I also realized that if we wanted to do this online, then we had to follow the Northreach guidelines, and a lot of our people didn't really seem comfortable to do on camera, mostly because the logistical hassle we would have to do for both me and Vex is really, it's almost non-existent, because I'm barely able to get time off from work anymore, and Vex works a full-time job at actually, I probably shouldn't disclose where. But point is, both of us are incredibly busy and wouldn't be able to do like the live action version. Now, I mean, that's not to say we couldn't in the future, but it's a very real possibility that we won't be able to do that.
And Telly said, "All right, thanks. That's all I need to know," and he put it back in the back seat.
See, to add, if I can add my own little story.
Yeah, see, this is the one this is what I was talking about with him and Flavory Weapons. So yeah, like I said, Deli, make sure if you can make a trident that can turn into flails and also possibly dispense cotton candy, I think that would officially win like the ultimate flare weapon, because I'll be real, if you can make a weapon that can do that, then I think you've essentially won Amp Guard. I didn't think that would be possible, but I think if there is a way to do it, that's how you do it, is make a weapon that can be broken down to multiple weapons and also dispense some kind of food. So, you guys, for all you listening at home wanting to win the Golden Flare Award, you have your weapon. Or, no, sorry. You have your mission. Make your weapon and make me proud. Just remember that, okay?
If you can excel at a talent that not a lot of others can, that's a gift.
Yeah, no, totally. I didn't mean anything. I didn't mean to imply that was a bad thing.
Now, believe it or not, I guess I should probably bring up the story since we're at this part of the episode, is one of the craziest weapons that I ever personally saw is someone actually said that I have a great new throwing weapon, and it turned out it was actually a beehive. And he threw a beehive, and just a swarm of bees came out and attacked the entirety of the field. And I gotta tell you, it was really something to believe, because believe, if you will. But there were just bees everywhere, and the weapon was bees. And I really should have seen it coming because the guy who did it, his amp guard name was Bees, like Beez. So I'm guessing he had some sort of weird like fascination with bees. But you know, I guess it's just one of those things that you had to see to believe. And like I said, I'm on the internet, which automatically means I'm right, and you can't disprove me.
Anchorage Airport, and I think part of the reason that I will remember it so well is, as awesome as getting the Kingdom status is, the other thing, I was right outside the Anchorage Airport because I was about to pick up Talius, my man-at-arms, he's been living in Washington for the last year now, and had only returned for a couple weeks.
Now, believe it or not, there actually was a 6th position in Amguard's top 5. But, you know, originally, it didn't quite roll off the tongue the way top 5 does. But the 6th position was Gesture. And what you really had to, and what that position entailed mostly was entertainment for the top 5. And what they did is usually they would bring anything from food to candy to I think they ended up, one brought in a live beehive. Wait a minute. Oh god, I think I'm getting my stories, I shouldn't say mixed, because I think that's the reason we don't have that 6th one anymore. But I think that might be the reason we don't have it anymore. Because, yeah, Bees was a special case. Now, anyway, so I think that would explain why a lot of his food was honey related too. Now that I really think of it, I wonder if he was like a bee farmer. I mean, with a name like Sir Bees, I don't know. You never know what's going on in a guy's head, in the head of someone who's like that. But I did actually find out a while ago is for those of you who played Smite, there's a game called one of the characters. It's a game where you can play as various different gods, like from different mythologies. Like you can play as Ra from Egypt, Poseidon from the Greeks, Odin from the Norse religion. One of the big ones though is he's a Mayan god, and his name is Amu-Zen-Kab, and he's the Mayan god of bees. I wish I was making that up. That's actually a legit thing. Look it up. And his backstory was there was this great war that like affected the entire world, and out of the ruins, he came out and he just suddenly decided, I want to control bees. So then he controlled bees, and that's how he became the god of bees. And wow, I just realized I kind of went on a tangent there. Wow, I'm starting to fall back a little bit on this.
Everyone's gonna remember where they were when they got that notification, at least for separate.
That's right. We're talking about when the Kingdom of the North thing was going on. Now, the real story for how I found out about when we became a kingdom is actually a little bit more intense. So, what happened was I was actually driving a. Before I worked at, I actually worked for Blackwater. That's actually the reason my character Har's Blackwater has the last name Blackwater. And I was actually the driver for our group, and we were like fighting for private security. And the moment we were told that we needed to, and the moment we were told that we became a kingdom, I went to the captain and I said, "I'm sorry, sir, but I gotta retire. We're officially a kingdom, and therefore my need to fight here is done." So we had a proper goodbye ceremony, and it was a great experience. They're great people, by the way, if you ever get a chance to work with them. Also expensive, so I would not recommend hiring them unless you're willing to shell out the extra cash for it, but they're good at what they do.
And making those milestones is awesome.
But that said, I don't think it's gonna.
Vex actually was also working along with me alongside me in Blackwater. I guess I don't know if they're called Blackwater anymore, but the point is, she was actually the bomber technician, and she was actually the reason we were able to get our hands on the explosives for the opening that we use in every episode. And we actually have I just said that was the reason, but that's But believe it or not, a couple of years in private security, and you can learn a lot about setting up entertainment. And I think that what we got here is, I think what we got here is prime examples of it. So,
Any other questions you wanted to ask besides that?
what else was there? I guess we're talking about fondest memories. I guess we want to talk about my actual fondest memory, because I don't know if I mentioned it in this episode. I think I did. But my real fondest memory is when I learned to walk on my hands.
That he doesn't already know.
Yep, it probably sounds like a really mundane thing, but no, it's a thing I'm really proud of. I can walk on my hands, and I can do it for just about... I can do it for a while. That's all I know. So I guess that's kind of the big thing. And I know Vex was talking about her biggest thing is she's actually what you'd call a reverse were creature. She's a were wombat. So whenever there's a new moon, she actually turns into a wombat, and she starts burrowing around Alaska. I mean, it can be a little bit of a pain during the winter months, but during the summertime, she absolutely loves it. She digs a little burrow out in her yard, and it's really cute.
All right, well,
I actually got to see it one time when we were recording for the chopping block, and I had her wear a silver pendant that like turned her back, and we were able to do that episode, and and no one was the wiser, except for I guess now everybody that's listening now knows the truth. So I guess we're getting close to the end of this. But
the most important thing to remember is that you're a servant of the people. And
I'm trying to think what else there was. Oh right, yeah. So back to Vex's thing. So Vex's big memory for Amtgard was during Wolf's Cry, when I ended up first discovering that she was a were wombat or something. I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. I think I'm getting that wrong, because I think she was originally always a wombat, and during the new moon is when she returns to her true self, and during the other 29 days a month, she's usually human appearing. I don't know. Sometimes Vex is trying to I think Vex is trying to sell me in the fact that she's like actually some sort of lizard person, and I don't know if that's actually true or not. But just based on everything we've talked about, I guess that wouldn't really surprise me, considering she's never really told me her life story the same way twice. And, so, you know, I guess that could always be, like, a thing we could never... I guess that can just be one of the great mysteries about working on the show. Every day was sort of a new surprise. Well, I guess we're actually getting close to the end of it, so I guess if you haven't figured it out by this point, April Fools, everybody. This is not going to be a regular thing. Vex is actually not a were-wombat or a reverse were-wombat, and a tulpa actually doesn't originate from South America. It actually originates from Asia. It was done in a lot of cultures to mourn the loss of their ancestors, and I would recommend looking it up because it's actually pretty interesting. And yeah, I guess that's also the main reason we're not going to be interviewing Gold Crest is because he's actually a tulpa. And okay, no, April Fools. I already blew the whistle on that. I guess damage is already done. But yeah, so I guess that pretty much wraps it up. So this won't be a regular thing anymore. So I'd say I would see you in the next episode, but I guess I'll just see you in the next episode of the Chopping Block. Alrighty, I guess I'll see you then. Peace.